So we look at Mesopotamia, this area of where the Israelites during 722 BC, we see King Shalmaneser, Assyria, this area geographically known today as Iraq, Babylon, Shinar, and these biblical places. However, when we see the development of agriculture, the cuneiform writing system, these things came from the Americas. The ancient priesthood, before we see these people in this land of Mesopotamia developing these innovations of the same seed the stair structures. You have to understand that this knowledge came from the Americas, from the primordial mound building culture here in the Americas. Then they went into this region. This is documented, and this is how the first dynasty was established based upon these Shemitic speaking people who brought it over their transliterations of the heavens into a written language, developed the first languages, developed these things, and established writing using the same reeds and papyrus that they used to sail and follow the heavens in order to come into these particular lands, into this area of Kush, where these ancient Shemitic people first established these river civilizations based upon the same systems that they use here in the Mississippi Valley region, Ohio Valley, where they mastered these things, these building structures. They mastered this masonry, and they mastered this agriculture, growing corn, maize. Here in the Americas, the Three Sisters. When you look at the Three Sisters, it's a prehistoric agricultural method on how to build a staple of corn, beans, and squash. And when you look at the mounds and you look at the calculating and the developing of receipts, and you look at the petroglyphs here in New Mexico on this coastline, you have to understand trade today and the time that it took to navigate the 18-month period, the year and a half. That's an essential when you look at historically the ending of the Israelite Empire on a universal level. So this is why we don't find Israel being mentioned in the rest of the monotheistic texts that we find coming out of the Eastern Hemisphere, because Israel, for the majority, did not just include the Phoenicia Palestine area, but the ancient Shemitic lands of Canaan, which were an 18-month journey. In the book of Ezra, it refers to this land as Ashereth, the land where never mankind dwelt. So you understand the coming into establishing the first dynasty and these ships that they came in with to establish this first dynasty. When you look at the Phoenician ships, and we see here in Americas proof and evidence of this ancient forms of Hebrew writing in New Mexico on the commandment stone tablets, when we understand that the commandments predates Moses, Abraham kept these signs and oaths that were written in the heavens. So this is where the term shamanism, serpent handling, and a lot of these rituals that we've seen done by those who have kept some of the traditions of the ancients. They refer to them as the ancient ones. So when you look at the tools, the ship making, the tools in this area, we was looking at Mesopotamia, This is what we're talking about. We're talking about pre-flood. We're talking about the empire. So this is why the land of Canaan was a special land. When you look at maize, the corn maiden, and the mother, and the representation for the mother culture, it's a whole system for the whole earth. Applied locally, but we see it being applied, the innovation that came into that area, to the Nile Valley, by these Shemitic navigators who navigated the earth and the rivers and the waters of the earth. This is where we get the tributaries and the paying of tribute, praise, and worship. They did this to establish a system to give thanks to the Creator. So when we look at Azareth in the scriptures, it talks about in Second Ezra about the 10 tribes of Israel. You understand, after 722 BC, Israel is removed, and this is where this is how we have people claiming to be Jews. Judaism. It's not referring to Israel, just to one of the tribes of Israel. And when we understand that nobody in the Bible was reading a Bible, so the laws and different things that were ordered were observed in the heavens and translated into signs and symbols in nature. This is where the writing of the gods comes from. Dumadunether, the writing of the gods. And the development of the alphabet so